7 o'clock. We don't really have a fast lane in Ocala, I don't think. But we do have a legal lane right here on WOCA. Vanessa Jennings is here. She is the host for the next 25 minutes and your resource if you have a question about the law. Vanessa is an attorney here in Ocala focusing on a lot of stuff: criminal law, contract law, small business law, family law, employment law, Valentine's law. Oh, I'm sorry. I just threw that in there. Good morning, Vanessa. How you doing?
Good morning, Larry. How are you?
Good. You rushed over here, so we don't really have a fast lane, do we?
We do not have a fast lane this morning, especially if that's 17th Street. That was not fast at all.
So you had a question that was sent to me by text.
I know. I was excited.
So we'll start with that one. I should read it verbatim because otherwise I might say it wrong. It didn't seem like such a hard one to remember. I should have kept it on here. How do I do this again? Hold, give me a second here. It's a technology thing.
Get in there.
I know I have
And
to.
he forgets the secret code?
Will you please ask the attorney, that's you,
That is me.
if they, meaning you,
Okay.
do wills for people without much money? What is the answer to that?
Absolutely. We have wills packages that start right at $100 and then they go upwards. The standard wills package is normally around $300, which would include a will, a power of attorney, and also your living will or your DNR.
Is that different than what you would offer if we had more money? Like, in other words, if I sat across the desk from you and had a will prepared?
Well, wills is a very tricky subject because it's very personal. It's on a person-by-person basis. So sometimes there needs to be quick claim deeds or what are called ladybird deeds. Ladybird deeds are, we did one for my grandmother, so I could explain that.
Okay.
She owns a piece of land in Florida, and that's her primary residence. And she didn't want her estate to go through probate, but she didn't want also to create a trust. In her mind, that was just too complicated. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we created what's called a ladybird deed, where for her lifetime, she gets the property. It's hers, but it's only a life estate. She only gets to keep it for her life. The moment that she passes, according to the deed, it goes straight to the next person, the person that she chose for it to go to. So it's being held for that person. So we do those a lot. So depending on what you need and what your particular facts and circumstances are, would depend on the amount of work it would take. And then,
so I don't know that I really quite understand that. And then another term you use, quit claim.
A quit claim deed.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So there's different types of deeds and for property, and because you have to think about property rights as a bundle of sticks. Okay.
Okay.
So it's not just one right. It's a bunch of different rights that each person has. You have the right to live there. You have the right to sell it. You have the right to enjoy it. You have the right to get minerals out of the ground if you want to. At any point in time, you're allowed to sell those different rights. And that's when you've seen like Jed Clampett, or whatever his name was.
Right. That was it, Jed Clampett, yes.
You know, he sold the oil rights to his property.
I can answer those questions. When I go to Olive Garden, I always do the what was it called? The old school?
Yes, old school
trivia game.
Trivia.
I ace it every time because Jed Clampett questions come up a lot. Yeah, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's perfect. So he sold the mineral rights to his land. So
Right.
you can sell different rights. So what a deed does is it tells you how much you're warranting that land. There's a warranty deed which says it's been researched and you're giving a firm guarantee that you are the owner and you're able to sell it. A quit claim deed is saying, I believe I do, I'm pretty sure I do. Mm-hmm. I'm not warranting it, but I'm giving you whatever rights I may actually have in the land. So
And nothing clicks until you die. Right? Everything is.
the other one.
Everything turns on the day you pass away, right?
For a ladybird deed, yes, those are special. Those are done
Okay.
in situations where the family doesn't want to go through probate. Let's say there's not a lot of money, so they don't want to go through the hassle of, hiring a probate attorney, going to the probate courts, and setting a personal representative and going through the entire probate step only for this one piece of property that may or may not even be worth it. Like sometimes it's a small piece of property. So what that says is for my lifetime as the current owner, I'm allowed to live here. The moment that I pass, it automatically goes to who I chose. Like in this case, it's my mom. It would automatically go to my mother. So my grandmother gets to live there for her lifetime. And then once she passes, it goes straight to my mother.
Would your mother have to pay inheritance taxes on that or anything like that?
Technically my mother already owns it, but she's not allowed to use it or enjoy it until my grandmother has passed.
Oh, okay. So
So
the
she-
government doesn't get any money then?
She already owns it
Uh-huh. Oh,
as
nice.
as of a couple years ago.
I like that.
All right, so if you have a question for Vanessa, please call the number here at the station because this is a great time. I don't want anybody to think just because we're talking about one subject that you can't change the subject. That's why Vanessa is here. The number is 622-9622. I do have another will question, though, but I want the listeners to be able to call through, and I'll keep an eye on the screen. As soon as I see it light up, I will stop what I'm saying and will or let Vanessa finish what she's saying, and you'll be able to speak to Vanessa. 622-9622. So the person who they originally started the conversation, they go get a $100 package. Do they then, are they done, or do they have, can they ask you questions? Because I'm guessing there's going to be questions.
Well, normally it's an interview process. Like I sit down and because I don't say it's going to be $100 right up front. I sit down, find out what exactly that person needs.
Okay.
And everyone has different varying needs. Some people only want a power of attorney. Some people only want a living will. Because the power of attorney is before you pass away. That says during your lifetime, should you be unable to make a decision or unable to do something, that another person that you've appointed, that they can go ahead and step in your shoes and sign documents, file your taxes, do your banking.
So if a person has power of attorney and you go into a coma,
Correct.
the power of attorney takes over, right? Or the
Correct.
person with that? What if you come out of the coma? Do you get back everything?
Well, then your powers
Go back to you.
They come back to you.
Okay.
Now, presuming you come back to out of the coma and you're completely competent, because there is a competency issue.
Completely incompetent?
Or no, completely competent.
Okay,
If you're
okay,
competent and
right.
you're able to make decisions.
Right.
And let's say you didn't have a stroke or there was nothing else that happened because of the coma.
Right.
Yeah, you're able to go back and push the other person out of your shoes.
And does the power of attorney person make decisions after the death, or does the power of attorney end when the person dies?
Once the person passes, the power of attorney ceases to operate.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And that's when the will would kick in, or the trust would kick in, or any of the other estate issues.
I'm guessing typically it's that same person, though. People normally name the same person as the executor or whatever they call it?
I would say typically yes, but not necessarily
Not
in all
always.
cases. Correct. I mean,
Really?
sometimes there will be a local person that a person will choose as for their power of attorney, because
I see.
they're here in
Yeah,
town and they're able to make those
right.
decisions. Especially in the older community, they'll pick their best friend or their next door neighbor or someone they know.
Oh,
Whereas
okay.
in their will or in their trust, they're going to pick a family member who might live out of state or live somewhere else in Florida, and
Okay.
for personal family reasons.
And now, will there be something in that form, the power of attorney form that both parties sign, that says they have to get an evaluation from the doctor to deem that person incompetent before the other person can take over if
Yeah.
they're not in a coma?
Yes, there is a clause for that in my power of attorneys, and it states exactly how that needs to occur. Not only it's not a unilateral decision on the person who's a personal representative; they have to have a doctor independent verification.
My goodness. Do you like doing that? That seems like, if I were in your shoes, I would like that kind of work. I wouldn't like the criminal stuff. I don't know how you handle the criminal stuff.
Criminal stuff is the interesting stuff.
Really?
The stories that you hear, the legal arguments that you get to make,
Really?
that's your creative aspect of it.
So what do you think about that Bill Cosby case? Now there's such a big controversy about his wife testifying or not testifying. Can her testimony be, looked after as truth, on his defense? I mean, can you really have a spouse testify for or against you?
Well, you can have anyone testify for or against you as long as it meets the criteria, because in certain cases, you can't bring in character evidence, and it depends on what type of case you're talking about. But in this instance, if they brought her forward, it's not so much that she is related, that she should or shouldn't. It's how much weight do you give the credibility of her testimony. So there's actual factors that there's jury instructions and factors in statute that says how much weight you should give to someone's credibility. Are they being truthful? Are they closely related to the person? Do they have motive to not be truthful? And they go through all the different factors. And and as you're going through the factors, some of them are going to go against her because she is closely related. She does have a motive, potentially. Not that she is lying, but she does have a motive to testify in his favor. So It's just how much credibility you give her statement is what is going to be looked at the end of the day, not whether or not she can or can't.
And as an attorney, like his attorney, if he was going to call her or something, chances are he knows she's lying, but he's going to put her up there anyway.
Well, he shouldn't know that she was going to lie, because if you do that, then you're not being candid to the tribunal, which is like your number one ethics rule. Always be truthful to the court. So he shouldn't.
Wow.
So he should actually believe what she's saying.
We are up to that first break. So if you are listening and you'd like to call Vanessa, this is a great time to call. We'll put you on hold, and after the break, you'll be up first. 622-9622 is the phone number. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine for today and quite pleasant, the high 72 to 76. Clear to partly cloudy Friday night, low 50 to 54. For Saturday, mostly sunny and a bit cooler, the highs in the 60s. For Sunday, a mix of clouds and sun, but there may be a shower in spots along the coast, the high 62 to 66. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Okay, guys, listen up. It's that time of year again. Little chocolate hearts, roses, earrings. Valentine's Day's coming up. Last year you got me slippers that didn't fit. The year before, it was that steering wheel cover for my car. And don't even get me started on the vacuum cleaner incident. Now, don't get me wrong, flowers and jewelry would be nice, but this year I'd like something I can thank you for every single day. That new bathroom I've been dreaming about. You know, the one with the rain heads, body sprayers, touchless faucets, bidet, and even the seat warmer. So here's what you do. Step 1, return the crockpot and apron that you thought were good ideas. Step 2, pick up the phone and call Mike Scott Plumbing now.
You heard the lady, guys. Call today to schedule an appointment to visit one of our beautiful showrooms. The main showroom in Hernando or the new showroom in Wildwood right across from Brownwood Square. Call today, 237-2888. That's 237-2888. And remember, if water runs through it, we do it. Mike Scott Plumbing.
And that leaf blower in the closet better be for your mother.
For some, Valentine's Day means flowers and candy. Not for us.
Join us for the Valentine's Day Massacre, February 13th at the Southeastern Livestock Pavilion.
For 7 scheduled bouts of live professional boxing entertainment. Each bout is highlighted with local boxers.
So come out and support the future boxing in Ocala. First bout starts at 7 and doors open at 6.
Proceeds to benefit the Boys and Girls Club. Tickets start at only $15.
Get your tickets at Central Florida Boxing, 1032 Southwest 1st Avenue, or call 352-292-2103.
Beautiful Moments Party Rental presents the Ocala Wedding and Events Expo 2016 on March 3rd. This event has caterers, photographers, florists, musicians, plus food, fun, and more. Brides, bring your bridesmaids and friends alike. 100% of the ticket sales goes to the Inflammatory Breast Cancer Network Foundation, and they're only $15 each. So mark your calendars for March 3rd from 5 to 8:30 p.m. for the Ocala Wedding and Events Expo at Beautiful Moments Party Rentals, 3400 Southwest 60th Avenue. Questions, call 307-8180. That's 307-8180.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Because music stirs up strong emotions, it makes it easier for our brain to store information about that event. Showering less will definitely help most people's complexions because hot showers melt away the oils that seal in moisture and keep skin supple. Dogs are man's best friend, right? But new research from Nature's Scientific Reports now shows that dogs also do nice things for other dogs.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
All right, 11 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Vanessa Lane Jennings is in the studio. If you have a question about the law, this is a good time to call. The show is called Legal Lane. 622-9622 is the number right now on the air. If you want to call Vanessa at her office, what is your number, Vanessa?
352-804-0092.
Okay, we'll repeat that before we wrap it up as well. So Robin asked you, can we observe? And I remember as a kid, my social studies teacher took us to a case where we sat in the room and listened. We were just little kids listening. And it was a taxi cab driver who was just up in New York, and he did something wrong, but we watched the trial, whatever it was, and it was kind of very interesting to watch. I remember it, but I don't remember if he was found guilty or not. But so you have people sometimes coming in. Do you know what? Oh, I wanted to ask you this. The other day, there was a guy. Who's the guy who multiplied the cost of his medication by like 6,000%? Did you see this guy? No. And he sat before Congress, and and they want to ask him about that. And he says, "I take the fifth." Okay. So now my question is this: in the Miranda Rights, when they say you have the right to remain silent.
Correct.
If you give up that right or whatever it is, then anything you say will and can be used, whatever they say. Okay.
Correct.
Does that mean if you say something, you can never change your mind and go back to being silent?
No, absolutely not. I'm going to back us up just a little bit. A lot of people get confused with Miranda. It only applies if two things are happening. One, a governmental person, like a police officer, is asking you questions. So you're being asked questions, and you do not have the right to leave. You're not free to leave. Both of those things have to be true. If one of those things is not true, like if a police officer is asking you questions but you have the right to leave, then Miranda doesn't kick in. So your Fifth Amendment right doesn't kick in. So both of those things have to be occurring simultaneously.
So you don't have a right to remain silent if you can go home?
Well, if you go home, well, then you have a right to remain, but you could just leave. You could just go. At that point in time, it's your right to walk away.
Oh,
so you're
really?
choosing not to. The only time that
That's when he shoots you, though, right?
Well, not theoretically. Theoretically, you should not be shot because you have the right to walk away.
Okay.
So, I mean, it just depends on what level of encounter you're having. And that becomes a big debate as whether or not the person actually had the right to leave and whether or not Miranda kicks in. But once Miranda, you say, you're given your Miranda rights, he gives them to you, either he reads off his card or he gives them to you verbatim, or you sign a Miranda waiver form, which is it's written down and you sign it. At any point in time, you're allowed to say, I no longer want to answer any questions. Once you do that, you're supposed to be left alone and they're not supposed to ask you any more questions. And then they would have to re-Mirandize you. Now, and there's also cases where people will have waived the right, and then a day or two later, they're asked questions again. They still have to be read Miranda again because you're under different facts and circumstances.
Is that the same thing as claiming when people say I'm claiming the Fifth?
Yes, that's what they're claiming.
That's the same thing.
Yes, people claim the Fifth inappropriately all the time.
Inappropriately?
All the time.
So this guy before Congress, he claimed the Fifth and basically didn't give him any answers.
And whether or not that was the appropriate time, I'm not going to get. But it's one of those things where unless you're being lawfully detained and you're not allowed to leave, you don't have to necessarily be under arrest. But there's times when in an investigation you're not allowed to leave.
Right.
And if you claim the Fifth, it means you're guilty.
No,
I mean, if you don't want to answer the question.
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh,
I don't believe that at all. Of course, I might because I'm a criminal defense attorney, but I don't believe that at all. There's just certain times that you would say things in one way,
right.
and you believe that you're doing something in your best interest, but the way you've stated it leads someone else to believe you did something that maybe you didn't do, or that you meant something that you didn't mean. Because it's all about interpretation, especially when things, if you're being investigated, your emotions are high, their emotions, they're on guard and they're being super diligent. There could be confusion.
wow.
So, and sometimes people say things that they don't even mean to say. So, that aren't even true.
Well, what do you think about those TV shows that people go to, like the People's Court and things like that? Is that just there for entertainment, or do they really rule on whatever's going on?
Those are legitimate courts. Whatever is found there is the ruling. That is the ruling. I'm going to appeal it, but that is the ruling. They're entertainment. I mean, they do it in a form to be entertaining, but it is an actual judge making the decision.
Vanessa, you have a phone call?
I do.
Good morning. You're on there with Vanessa Jennings.
Yes, good morning. Talking about taking the Fifth. The noted alleged gangster Frank Costello was summoned before Congress to testify at the McClellan Commission hearings, and he took the Fifth 57 times.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That is a lot of times.
Yeah. He didn't say anything.
Yeah. Have a good day.
What do they call that? A sparrow or a canary? You don't say a canary is a gangster who talks.
I've not heard of that.
Right.
Yeah, he talks like a canary.
So,
I like it.
I don't know. All right, we have another phone call. Let me push the button. Good morning. You're on the air with Vanessa.
Yes, good morning, Vanessa. When you make a verbal contract with somebody, is it necessary to have a second person, a witness there, to make it liable?
Okay. There's all kinds of things in that question. One, a verbal contract just between two people in and of itself is a valid contract in most cases. There's something called the statute of frauds, which says, and specific cases, you can never make a verbal contract. Like for the sale of land, that can never be verbal.
Oh,
that
okay.
always has to be in writing. Having a witness is always helpful because there's another person there to say, yes, it did happen. But then that would go back to what we were talking about earlier, is how much credibility you give that person's statement. Like if it's your wife, they would have an interest necessarily to side with you. So it would need to be an impartial person.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But that's why we
Would there be
like putting things in
a
writing.
time limit on a verbal contract?
Can you say that again?
Would there be like a time limit on a verbal contract?
Yes, the state of Florida has a statute of limitations on when you can enforce a verbal contract, and I believe it's 5 years.
5 years. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's apply that to the first part of this, which was about wills. So let's say I have a will all prepared, and now I'm on my deathbed, and I get this call from, cousin Louie, and he says, I'm so sorry, Uncle Larry, whatever I am. And I say, oh my gosh, I left you out of the will, but now that you've apologized, hey, put him in the will, would you? And now I die. Okay. Now, everybody heard me.
It's unfortunate for everyone.
Everybody says, put me in the will, put him in the will.
Right.
Is that good? I mean,
Nope.
he doesn't get in the will.
He is not in that will.
He's done.
He is done. Wills law is different than contract law. They're a totally different body of law. In the state of Florida, you need to have a written document, and it needs to be signed by 2 witnesses. So you can't, if you can do it yourself. If you do your own will, like you write it out yourself, it's called a holographic will. And if you do it just yourself, and there's no witnesses, that's not valid, and your wishes will not be upheld. You have to make sure it conforms to all the legal standards.
Okay. See, in my mom's will, if I have enough, if you don't mind, she had everything laid out, right? And I had told her, I don't want anything, Mom. I don't want anything. Give it to everybody else. Well, anyway, in the actual, when we saw the will, there was a handwritten note. I want my organ to go to Larry. Not an internal organ. It was a musical instrument. Yeah. So we found a little piece of paper, and that's what it said. And of course, nobody argued with it, and I ended up with the organ. It's a funny thing, isn't it? I got my mother's organ, but nobody questioned it, so it wasn't an issue. But could they have? Could they have questioned? Oh, they could have.
Absolutely. Because it would be an argument of whether or not that was a codicil, which is like an attachment to it, to your will. But it wasn't signed. Probably it wasn't notarized.
No, she just paper clipped it in there.
Right. Yeah, they could have contested if they wanted to.
And could you also contest the person that was named executor?
You can.
Oh, you can, but you probably won't win.
Oh no. Well, it depends.
Oh.
There's some tricky cases out there. Sometimes if there's coercion, sometimes people say that that the decedent was forced to do it. So those get into very heated battles.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't envy you, but boy, if I ever need an attorney, you're it.
I'm going to squeeze in one more real quick question. Good morning. You're on the air with Vanessa.
Good morning. I've got 2 quick questions. I recently, or I guess my parents, bought a house for my fiance and I, and we're going to be, they're going to be our bank, sort of. We're loaning the money through them, but my name is the only one on the deed because when we get married, my fiance's name is obviously going to change. So when we get married, what's the best way to put her name on the deed?
You could do that through a quick claim deed, which is really simple. Then all the parties just sign it, and she's added to it. If you have a note and mortgage with your parents, I would add her to that as well.
Okay. And then my second question, real quick, I wanted to know if you've seen the Netflix sensation Making a Murderer.
I have. It makes me very mad, but I have.
Oh my goodness.
And do you find some faults in that show?
I do. So even some going down, all the way up to the judge's rulings and some of the hearings that they show.
Gosh, I wish you called earlier. We are right out of time, Vanessa. Real quick, what's your phone number again?
It's 352-804-0092.
Thank you so much. This is WOCA Ocala.
News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. More humanitarian aid heading for Syria as Secretary of State John Kerry wraps up talks with foreign diplomats.
The U.S. had wanted an immediate ceasefire, and Russia wanted to wait until March 1st. A ceasefire fell short, but diplomats did agree to working toward a temporary cessation of hostilities in Syria within a week.